Hello there. We have a video for you today, or I have a video for you today, that is all about what was Unit 13 from March 22nd, our class on March 22nd. This video is to be used by you for help if you get lost and you are trying to remember how to do the work. It could also be useful for those who didn't come to class so they can see the way we are trying to consistently solve the math questions. So it's the same pattern for each question. And then it's also helpful for any other reasons you want to be studying for your exam or your final exam. So it'll be there. You can access it at any time after today. It'll be still up. So jumping right into what we're going to be talking about, we have a section here that we are talking about, which is Unit 13. And it's the only unit that we are studying this week. There are 17 questions on the unit. And I put out a worksheet for everybody about that topic. It has a name on it, or is there a place for your name and other things like that. So we also spent about almost 30 to 45 minutes on another section worksheet that I will show you. But I'm going to jump right into what it says for Unit 13 and talk about the parts that go along with that. And you will also be able to see all the notes that were given the other night that are put up in Canvas. So without further ado, here is our work for what we were doing last night. So Unit 3, questions 3 and 7. I talk a little bit about solving a parenteral dosage problem. The word parenteral means some sort of a liquid dose, as far as I'm concerned. There might be other better definitions, but for our purposes, it's mostly about liquids. So you won't necessarily be seeing a lot of things about tablets or capsules or anything like that. So this particular question is talking about amitriptyline, some sort of a milligrams IM, which is intravenous muscle. So we are not going to be putting like tablets or something into a muscle. That's going to be a liquid. So if you remember from the previous time we did any math on this, the doctor's order always came first, and it always went over 1. And then based on the doctor's order over 1, we were able to put in the information that was given for our strength of our drug or whatever it is. So for this example, we would be very clear that the 14 milligrams over 1, which is our doctor's order, is going to come first, and we need a second fraction. So our second fraction set up here for us is going to have milligrams on the bottom and milliliters on the top. And several things are happening here with that idea, is that we see milligrams here and here, and we should be able to cross them off, which means I'm looking for milliliters. Milliliters is a liquid measurement. So again, that kind of goes along with what we're talking about here with parenteral dosages. Now, the information given says 5 milligrams per milliliter. So the 5 goes with the milligrams and the 1 goes with the milliliter. And the math that we use to get that answer is going to be top times top and bottom times bottom, which gives me 14 over 5. So this should look very similar to all the math that we have been doing lately with doctor's order or converting from metric to English or English to metric, that we always had something over 1. Then we moved on to figure out what the facts were to make this work. So this turned out to be 2.8. Oh, you can hear that bell. I'm here at the high school where I teach. Okay, so that would be the right answer for that. Now, if I jump back to the question that is on here, which would be question 3, you can see for sure that this is 11 divided by 5, not 14 divided by 5. So my answer will be 2.2 as opposed to 2.6. So don't get concerned about that necessarily. But here's what I want to show you that they're going to ask. If you type in, like I did, 2.2, getting the right answer. The next question, and again, this is really for those who were not here the other day, there are several syringes that are listed as choices. And so you have to go through and figure out which syringe is hitting at 2.2 and everything that goes along with that. So number one, the B syringe is certainly out because that goes all the way to 2.5. The C syringe is also out because that's even past 2.5, and 2.5 is 2.5. I'm only looking for 2.2. So it's either going to be a choice of A or D. And you're going to have to use your eyesight and kind of double check it. You can blow these up a little bit with the zoom feature. But the correct answer looks to me like it's going to be A. And I'm going to hit the button to say check and see if it gets us what we want. Okay, so to recap that first question, you have to answer it the same way we've been trying to answer it, and then you have to answer the question that has to do with syringes. Okay, all the way down to question 3 through 7. Number 7 might have something about a syringe. 2, it gives you the milligrams, it gives you the doctor's order, and it gives you the strength, and then it just shows the syringe, and you need to shade it or show the shade. Okay, so those are questions 3 and 7. The next question is one of the ones that we took about 50 minutes to work on yesterday. We practiced this one quite a bit. We had another whole worksheet that was dealing with this. So if this is the first time you've seen this, and I guarantee it probably is, this is going to be something you're going to want to focus on, and I will do a little bit more work on fixing that later. So we don't expect mastery instantly with this question. I want you to follow along with what I'm going to do here and see if you can make it work, and then we'll talk about how it works with some other ones. So this is our doctor's order in some ways again. So we are going to write down 100 mgs over 1. Okay? Now, this is a trick question already, but the idea here is, what is the deal with these question marks here that are talking about 5%? If you have a solution that is labeled any percent, 5% solution is either going to be 5 grams over 100 mLs or 100 mLs over 5 grams. It is never going to be anything but that. Good point from last night. The grams always go with the number that's attached to the percent. The 100 always goes to the mLs. Last night there was a lot of errors. There were people putting the grams where the mLs should be and the mLs where the grams should be. So looking at what we have here, this is how this is set up. So if we go back to our original thought process here about how something should work, this is definitely going to be milligrams if it could be, but because it's not milligrams, we have to use 5 grams instead. So think about that. And then the top is going to be 100 mLs. So for this particular solution question, I used this ratio because I knew that milligrams were on the top, so milligrams need to be on the bottom. And the only thing that's close to milligrams in this case is grams. Okay, here's a question. How do you change milligrams to grams or grams to milligrams? Okay, whatever way you want to go. If I want to have 100 milligrams, which is right here, and I want to change it to grams, grams being right here and milligrams being right here from previous, I've got to move my decimal point over 1, 2, 3 spaces. So that means my number, which was 100 with a decimal after it, is going to be 1, 2, 3 spaces, which changes this answer to 0.1 milligrams. Sorry, grams. Grams. That's a G. Okay? I apologize. That's a G. Now, why is it helpful? G and G are all lined up here. So now I need to get my answer and finish this one through. I'm looking quickly to my answer key, so I have this one down. And we wrote it out last night. And it looks like it's going to come out to be 2 in the end. So this would turn out to be 10 on the top and 5 on the bottom. When I do the top times the top and the bottom times the bottom, I get 10 over 5, which turns out to be 2 mLs. Take some time if you need it and rewind that part of the video. Also, there's a whole other worksheet that I'm going to talk about with solutions. This is a solution question. It's an odd word. You're having a solution to a solution, but this is a solution question. You'll see it as question number 8 in your MyMathLab. So just to be clear on that, here's question number 8. And notice it says a certain milligrams and a 15% solution. And it's asking how many milliliters. So we're going to follow the same process. Okay? I'll get back to those later. Oops, my light just went off in my room. No, now it's back on. All right, we're having all sorts of fun things today at the high school. Okay, on the other side, we are back to the questions that are going on here. And they talk about questions 13 and 16. So I would like to go through those from the MyMathLab and talk about what's happening here. So if I look at question 13 on MyMathLab, and you notice it says in the MyMathLab section that there is some sort of doctor's order, and then there is a label over here that you should be able to see that has 400 micrograms per ml. And that is the label you need to read. So as it goes in the classes here, if I see something different than what you're used to seeing, I want to make sure you understand it. So let's talk about what's the same. Let's talk about what's different. The doctor's order is always going to be over 1. Nothing different about that. The label says that we have 400 micrograms for every 1 ml. Nothing different about that, except for the fact that this is not the same units. These are milligrams and those are micrograms. So milligrams and micrograms have a place where they make a connection because micrograms are 3 away smaller than milligrams. So if I have 0.3 milligrams and I want to go to micrograms, I have to move my decimal place 1, 2, 3 spaces. So this new number becomes 300 micrograms. Now everything is set up for my success. If I circle micrograms and micrograms, that turns out to be 300 over 400, which turns out to be 0.75 ml. So I'm trying to point out to you that the most important part of this whole thing is the setup, because the setup tells you where the labels go. And if the value starts with micrograms, the next fraction micrograms should be on the bottom, and etc., vice versa. So there's a few little twists here for these kind of questions. Some of them are more straightforward than others. I'm picking up the twisted ones so that you will know how to get the answer. If I go back over to this question here, it is actually asking how many milliliters will be given. And guess what? This answer is in milliliters. So that's enough about question number 13. Now, question number 16 talks a little bit about the idea of milligrams and micrograms. Again, okay, and it's talking about vitamin B12, and it's talking about something similar. Oh, this is interesting. On this question in 16, they used micrograms. On my paper question, which is here, it actually uses grams. Okay, so that's another thing that's happening here. So the doctor's order here would be 0.66 grams over 1. The vitamin B strength is 1,000 micrograms for every 1 ml. And I have that there. I need to go from grams to micrograms, which is quite a leap in terms of the numbers. And I hope you can see that. So I'm going to go from 0.66, that's right here at my base. I put that in the wrong spot. 0.66 at my base, and I need to move it over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is 4 zeros. So I'm going to change this to 660,000 micrograms. And that should give me my final answer here by doing the top times the top of 660,000 divided by 1,000, which comes out to be 660 ml. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to move away from the Unit 13 specific questions to a worksheet that I also put out in front of the class, which had to do with strictly solutions and how we're going to get the answers to those solutions. Took a while in class, and if you were there, you know what I'm talking about. But the idea here is I want to put this on the video for those to look at it again, as well as put it out for the video for those who weren't able to appear in class. All right, I'm trying to make sure I can see everything and I don't have some weird cord in my document camera. Okay, that looks like it's good. Okay, so during class, we went through several questions about solutions. I'm going to do a couple, and then I would direct you to look at the notes that are left there for you in Canvas. Question number 3 and question number 4 have some very similar things. They both say 2% solution. So what I wrote was a 2% solution either means 2 grams over 100 mLs or 100 mLs over 2 grams. It doesn't mean anything other than one of those two. It doesn't mean both. It means one or the other. And the way we decide whether it's one or the other has a lot to do with the doctor's order. So in question number 3, the doctor's order is 400 mLs. So I started by writing 400 mLs over 1. And in question 4, the doctor's order is 10 grams. So if you're the kind of person who likes to look at patterns, this has nothing to do with the percent. So it comes first. This doesn't say anything about percent. So it comes first. Now the percent needs to come second. They're both 2% solutions. This one is going to be 2 grams over 100 mLs. The reason I know the 100 mLs is on the bottom is because the mLs are on the top of the first fraction. The next one is going to have the grams on the bottom and the mLs on the top because I have my grams, which means it's the second choice. But notice the 2 always goes next to the grams. The 100 always goes next to the mLs. It just differentiates itself by whether it's on the top or bottom, but it's the same 2 numbers. Now, why do I know that I'm in the right spot? Number 1, if I circle ml and ml, the only thing left is grams, and the first question asks for the number of grams. So question number 3, I'm looking for grams. In the second one, I need milliliters. So if grams and grams goes away, I'm left with milliliters. Okay? The answer to this question over here is going to be 800 over 100, which turns out to be 8. And the only letter that's left is grams. So it is 8 grams. The answer for this one over here is going to be 1,000 over 2, which turns out to be 500. And the only thing that's left over has to be what? mLs. So I will write down the setup for numbers 8 and 9 on this same page, as well as number 5. And then I'm going to let you look at those yourself. If you have any other questions, you should feel free to email me and let me know what is happening. Okay. Number 5 has nothing to do with the solution, so it'll take less than a minute. The doctor's order is 100 milligrams. The label says 125 milligrams for every 5 mLs. When we multiply this all out and get a final answer, it turns out to be 4 mLs. Milligrams and milligrams are no longer there, and I get 4 mLs. If you need to rewind that part of the video, go ahead, but it should be set up for you, and you should still get 4. Notice there's no percent in this one, so I didn't have to worry about where numbers went. They are right there from the label, and I just put the milligrams where they're supposed to be. Number 8 and number 9, our last two for this video. Number 8 and number 9 are all about solutions. Again, the solutions. So I have to start thinking. I have a 5% solution. I have a 0.9% sodium solution. Okay? So 500 mLs starts me off over 1, and 18 grams starts me off over 1. The math is not the hard part. It's the setup. If mLs are in the top, mLs need to be on the bottom, and grams need to be on the top. And it says 5%. So that's 5 over 100. Final answer comes out to be 25 grams. You can check your math to get the answer for that. Okay? 18 grams. This time it's going to be 0.9 grams on the bottom and 100 mLs on the top. That's my flip. My flip there is that the grams are now on the bottom and the 100 mLs are on the top. Final answer for this comes out to be 2,000 mLs. That should be apparent because the only thing left that's not circled is mLs. But the answer to this question is 2 liters. The reason for that is it's asking for the number of liters. And if you have 2,000 milliliters and you want to get over to liters, you have to move the decimal point back 3 spaces, giving you 2. Okay, I am going to go back on my word and I am going to talk about one of the questions on the back side, which frustrated a lot of people. And so I think it's helpful to make sure we do number 15. Okay, so number 15 is a trick question in some ways. Here is the start. I have 400 mLs over 1. I have a 20% solution, which means I have 20 grams over 100 mLs. The reason this question made people frustrated last night is because they see that there's this 10 grams hanging out and they want to immediately put it into the equation. So I said, hold your horses. Let's get it right to where we need to be to start. And then let's see about the 10 grams. Ignore the 10 grams to start. This answer turns out to be 8,000 over 100, which turns out to be 80. And the mLs are gone, which means I have 80 what? So I have 80 grams of the 20% solution. Now it says I want to prepare the solution using tablets. So that means my doctor's order in some ways is I have 80 grams. And it says that each tablet is 10 grams. So I'm taking tablets, placing them in liquid so that they become a solution. And I want to know how many tablets I'm going to drop into the liquid. This is back to normal. 80 grams, doctor's order, 10 grams per tablet. Grams go away, and the answer turns out to be 8 tablets. So during class yesterday, that one made a lot of people a little frustrated. But there is the answer for that one as you go through the list. Okay? All right. One other thing I'll say, I guess I'm just going back on my word all over the place here today, is number 14. Took a little bit of work. And actually, it wasn't 14. It was 11. Okay? So here's the reason 11 has an issue. We are asking for the milligrams, which is the first time we've been asked for that, and it does say 1 liter. So I'm going to write it down, and you can follow along as it works. Okay? So 1 liter would be our start, and that's going to be over 1, and it's a 0.9% solution. So that's 0.9 grams over 100 mL. So anyone in this spot would notice that I don't have everything lined up. So I've got to make this into milligrams. So if I go down my list of how to change something from 1 liter to milligrams, I'm going to have to add a certain number of zeros to make that work. So I change this to 1,000 milliliters. And I'm going to get an answer for grams here, which turns out to be 9 grams. Now, the question doesn't ask for grams. It asks for what? Milligrams, which means I need to also, one more time, yet again, convert my grams of 9 over to what? Milligrams, which means my final answer is going to be 9,000 milligrams. So conversions, sometimes no conversions, sometimes everything lines up nice. Please make a note to go look at your the work in Canvas so that you can take care of business on these questions as needed. All right. We only have several weeks left. You only have 2 more lectures and then 2 tests. Please try to make it to class, those of you who haven't been, and we will see you on Wednesday, March 29th.